As the Government of National Unity Cabinet talks continue, the Inclusive Society Institute says confidence in the Government of National Unity can be ensured if all parties act honourably and in good faith. Reports of tensions as horse trading continues have surfaced. Joining us to discuss the power tussle that seems to be delaying the formation of a cabinet is Inclusive Society Institute CEO Daryl Swanepoel. Mr. Swanepoel, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. So South Africans are still patiently waiting for the cabinet announcement. But if reports are anything to go by, the talks are very difficult. And you assert that the problem starts with the misinterpretation of what a GNU entails. Can you just unpack your views for us?
Good afternoon. Good to be with you. Yes, I think we've had 30 years of adversarial politics, and parties are caught up in their rigid way of doing things. And the Government of National Unity, quite frankly, needs a complete mindset change. In the first instance, parties have to accept what their relative strength within that Government of National Unity is going to be. And one cannot, through machinations and clever tricks, try and turn 40% into 60%, or for that matter, 20% into 30%. So that's the first thing. You need to understand your relative strength.
So your relative strength, pardon me, so your relative strength in relation to the amount of votes you got in the national and provincial elections?
Correct, yes. For example, if the cabinet, if you got 40% of the votes in the election, then you should have 40% of the cabinet. You cannot now maybe exclude other political parties to increase the size of your participation within that Government of National Unity. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, as I said, you need a mindset change. We are no longer going to have a situation where you have to challenge every piece of legislation that comes on the table and oppose it. Now we are working in a partnership collaboratively. So we need to have an approach where we are able to find common solutions. It's give and take situation. It's not take it or leave it situation. That's the second thing. And in the third instance, one must understand that you need to take joint decision making. No one political party can take the decisions, or two or three political parties take the decisions, and the other parties must fall in line. You need to sit around the table and jointly decide on what the rules of the game are going to be. And I think maybe where we've picked up problems in this process is that we have a whole range of bilateral discussions taking place by parties with subjective interests. And if we rather brought all the parties in the room with objective facilitators, we might have moved the process forward a lot quicker. That said, I don't think we should panic. There is still time. I believe it is possible for the parties to find each other. South Africa is doing quite good. I mean, putting governments together in places like Belgium could take 531 days. We are only a couple of weeks into this new government, so I think there is time to put a proper deal together.
But Daryl, just to take you back to these 3 points that you've mentioned now, you say parties should understand their relative strength within the power dynamics in your first point. But then you go on to say no party should set themselves up as a controller of a GNU. Well, the ANC essentially has set itself up as the controller and is the one inviting members, and parties seem to be okay with this. Should there be no anchor tenant or in this whole co-governing structure, though?
Well, you will obviously have a larger party. There is the largest party, and the ANC is the largest party in that arrangement. But it's not. It shouldn't be a situation where we are the controlling party and the other parties. We try and find a solution with other parties. We should sit around the table collaboratively to find out to define the rules of the game.
But there are those externally that have shared their views on what's happening now and said the ANC needs to assert itself here because they did attain 40%. So they received 40% of the votes, and they feel that they are an anchor tenant, and as many of the other parties seem to have agreed that they are the majority, and in this instance everybody is coming to the GNU as per an invite.
That is correct, but you must understand that the other political parties also have their constituencies to protect. They also have to ensure that they come into this process with integrity and that they leave this process with integrity. If they are seen to have been co-opted into the government of national unity, and that they are there for personal reasons and not for the good of the country. Remember, they have to face an electorate in 2 years' time. So there's much at stake for the ANC, but there's also much at stake for the other political parties. The ANC without the other political parties cannot govern, and the other political parties without the ANC cannot govern. So one has to deal with this collectively and cohesively.
Now, it seems that that particular matter of them needing to account to their constituency is what is holding up the talks, really, because for the Democratic Alliance, many are saying a lot is at stake, that if they go into this GNU and really are not able to effect some sort of a change, they will be punished by the electorate.
Yes, and there's many examples around the world, and even in our own country, where people have gone into coalition arrangements and have been punished by the electorate later. Prime example would be the Liberal Party in the United Kingdom, where they joined forces with the Conservative Party, and in the next election they were punished quite harshly. So the deal must be fair for everybody, and the country must be the winner. If the electorate see the country as the winning through this process, and I think it's exciting times that lie ahead. I think the country can be the winner out of this process. Then the parties will be rewarded for their participation.
Daryl, in hindsight, shouldn't the ANC and DA have been perhaps more explicit in their drafting of the statement of intent before voting, as opposed to this vague or broad statement such as Clause 16? Because when reading through it, it talks about the GNU having to be constituted in a manner that reflects genuine inclusiveness of political parties. Inclusiveness could mean anything. It could mean one ministerial post for all parties invited by the ANC onto the GNU. Did they not need to be more explicit in that statement of intent?
Yeah, I think it is under pressure of time that this happened. But I do think that Clause 16 is actually pretty clear, because it says it must be inclusive, yes, but it also says that the distribution of positions should generally represent the strength of the participating parties within Parliament. So I think it is actually pretty clear.
But then it seems everybody's shocked when the Democratic Alliance puts the demands. If it was that clear, why then would there be a shock and some saying they're being unreasonable?
Yeah, I'm shocked that they are shocked, because to me the Clause 16 is pretty clear, and that's why I speak about we shouldn't now try through machinations and create a better situation for myself than what my relative strength dictates I should have.